Well, hello, General Hospital Daily Recap fans. Today's daily recap is for Wednesday, November the 26th, 2025. Wednesday, November the 25th. Up 6. It was an okay episode. Rocco made it home in time for Thanksgiving. He's out on bail. The whole charges haven't been dropped yet, but the DA is working on getting those charges dropped. Jason and Lulu were talking outside while the kids were inside talking, and they were hugging Rocco, each other. They were happy to see each other, right? I'm gonna get back to those bad butts in a minute, right? Uh, Jason and Lulu are outside talking, and she was saying, Jason says, "Oh, I heard um that we may not have to bring the kids down to make a statement tomorrow." And Lulu says, "Yeah, and I think I know why. That's because Dalton is nowhere to be found." So, and the forensics don't match. So either he's on the run because he doesn't want to face having made a false statement, you know, or she looked at Jason. "Do you think Sonny had something to do with it?" Oh, so innocently slid it in, just like, "Now, this is on the record, Jason." And Jason looks at her and he says, "Lulu, I can assure you Sonny had nothing to do with Dalton's disappearance, right?" So she looked at him and she goes, "Oh, good to hear." Now, anybody that knows Lulu, like I know Lulu, you know what she told Jason? "Oh, good to hear." Or, "I'm relieved to hear." Next time she sees her mother, you know what she's gonna tell her mama? "Do you think Sonny had anything to do with Dalton's disappearance?" The next time she sees Sonny, "Did you have anything to do with Dalton's disappearance?" Now, this would be off the record. "Yeah, right." And Sonny would tell her the same as Jason. Lulu, I had nothing to do with Dalton's disappearance. Sonny didn't kill Dalton, right?" And you know what Lulu would tell Sonny? "Oh, good. I just had to ask." I don't know. Do we think Dante had anything to do with Dalton's disappearance, Lulu? I don't know. So anyway, Jason said, "But Lulu, you know what? We have to face a very important fact about those kids in there. They all have targets on their back, either because of Sonny or Laura or Dante." I don't even know if he said Dante. Sonny, Laura, and Valentine. He should have said Dante because Commissioner's son is fair game in any big little short house, okay? Because it's that commissioner that got me in here, okay? So she goes, "I know. And we have to find a way to keep them safe." And I mean, realistically, Danny is has nothing to do with any with Laura, Valentine, or Sonny. But Danny is Jason's son, the enforcer's son, who works for Sonny. So that kind of puts a target on Danny's back too, right? So anyway, they don't know that those little bad butts are in there, uh, uh, Rocco's talking about, I'm fine. And I would break into that lab again if it meant saving some animals, you know. And so Daddy says, yeah, Rocco says, you had to admit, I know, Charlotte, you've been on the run in Europe and everything, but you have to admit it was kind of fun. And Danny looked, it was kind of fun, wasn't it? And so Charlotte says, wait, and Danny says, or Rocco, one of the two idiots, said, and we were good at it. And Charlotte says, we were good at it until we weren't. Till we, excuse me, until we got caught. But she goes, yeah, it was kind of fun though. So you want to know what that means, everybody? Let's look for these teens to be getting in some trouble between now and next summer, or they're going to hold off on the trouble for them to get into a bunch of trouble next summer, right? But they're not in the least bit far. I mean, over. So Charlotte is saying, well, from what I'm hearing, um, we may not even have to testify because Dalton is nowhere to be found. So no Dalton, no case. And so then Rocco says, well, that would be good. So, they were still talking, but they haven't learned a valuable lesson. And from the boy that was in the facility that did see how the guards are not going to help you, right? For him to come out without even learned a good lesson, he wasn't scared straight. That's what was interesting. He was not scared straight behind this. Yet everybody wants to say how bad of an influence Danny is on Rocco. Rocco got his own mind, and Rocco's going to do some Rocco stuff. He really is. So now we have Liesel. She goes to Willow's, and she's telling Willow, that she came to see her, and she wants to talk to her. And Willow says, okay, and what do you want to talk about? And she goes, your wedding or your choices or whatever she said, your wedding. And she goes, oh, are you going to try to talk me out of it? She goes, no, Willow, this is your life. And you doing pretty much what you want to do. She goes, well, how did you find out? And she goes, we ran into your fiance who couldn't wait to fill us all in and invite us. And so she says, and how did you react? She goes, well, I wasn't happy at first. She said, I didn't say anything, no, but wasn't happy. And she says, because she said, told me Nina and I. So she goes, and how did Nina react? I bet she wasn't happy. She said, no, not at first. But after Drew walked away, she said Nina and I were talking, and Nina was saying that, you know what? We still have to support you. And if that's what you want to do, then we need to just support your choices. And she goes, oh, did she really? And she goes, yes, she did. She goes, that's why I'm here. I'm here to support your choice. Because that's what family does. And so she goes, well, okay. Thank you, Aunt Liesel. She says, now, let's talk about your mother. And she goes, I don't want to talk about me. She goes, no, we need to talk about your mother. Because you are acting like a spoiled child. And Willow said, excuse me? She goes, oh, yeah. She says, oh, you want to keep Nina at arm's length. And then you need her for something, so you want her close. Then she doesn't do exactly what you feel she should do. Then you push her away. And she says, you know what? Is Nina perfect? No. Has Nina made mistakes? Yes, Willow. But has Nina supported you 100% since she's found out that you were her daughter? Has she supported you 100% and tried everything in her power to help you through anything? And Willow says, yeah, but she lies. She doesn't tell the truth. And she says, I said Nina wasn't perfect, but neither are you. And Willow looked at her. She says, family forgives, and family is there for family. And so she goes, with that being said, it's time for you to talk to your mother. And Liesel stands up and she goes towards the door, and Willow says, wait, excuse me? And Liesel's already at the door, opening it to Nina. She says, oh, Nina and I rode over here together. I told her to stay in the car so I could talk to you first. She goes, oh, softening me up? And so Nina's looking at her. I mean, I could go, Willow. Okay, this is a bad idea. I could just turn around and go. And Lisa says, you are doing nothing of the thing. Get in here. So she takes them both over, and she's are they sitting or are they standing? I think they're standing the whole time. And she goes, talk to your mother. Or you two talk to each other. So they hash whatever, and Willow says, Nina, you have been there for me a lot of the times, but I can't put up with the lies and the disappointment. And I'm so surprised, Obed, because she says, Nina lies to me all the time and then wants me to forgive her. She should have said, isn't that the same thing your fiance does, Willow? And you forgive him and you're not even related to him. She should have told him, Willow, that. So anyway, she goes, Willow, I'm not perfect. I can only keep trying to do better. But one thing I can assure you, I love you, Willow, and I would do anything for you. I wish I could tell you I'll never make another mistake, but I probably will. She says, but I'll still keep trying to, pretty much be the best mother I can for you. So then she says, okay, we can start over. And Nina's like, she goes, but I'm telling you, if you lie to me, and she goes, Willow, fresh start. And she goes, yeah, fresh start. So in that case, do you want to come to my wedding? Oh, I would love to. Yeah, sure, whatever. And then Lizzo comes running around, hugging the two of them. And I thought, you talking about what family does. That's what family does. Family forgives. You talk to your mother. Lisa, when you gonna talk to your daughter? Because that's what family does. You got a second chance with her. And right about now, Britt is feeling so trapped. Your little spidey senses, your mommy spidey senses should be going off that my offspring is in trouble, right? So we'll see when Lizzo finally talks to Britt. So now we have let's see, I talked about that. Stella, I'm gonna talk 2 seconds about her. She and Curtis were meeting Trina at the Port Charles Grill, but Drew and Martin are there at the bar. So Curtis is like, you want to go somewhere else? She said, no, but she just mad dogging Drew. And Trina finally does come and they're talking, and Stella's still just looking at him. And Drew is like, Aunt Stella, Curtis is like, Aunt Stella, you know? She goes, that man, I'm gonna give him a piece of my mind. And she does. And I thought, well, that's the wrong move, stupid. Because Stella is over there talking about the low down kind of man he is, and Willow deserves. Oh, she's just horrible, right? You tried to have an investigation done on me, and blah, blah, blah. Stella, you committed fraud. She did. Martin, too. It's amazing the charges, they didn't look into Martin for insurance fraud. And in the real world, they would have. He would have to have paid that bill back, period. And her self-righteous self, and he goes, you don't want to make a scene in here, Miss Henry. I don't care if I did. And blah, blah, blah. And then at one point, Martin gets up and says, Stella, Stella, right? Now we don't want to have this conversation here. You need to stop working for him. Well, he had to start working for him again, Stella, to save your behind. And you know that. That was just a stupid scene to me. Ridiculously stupid, and we didn't need it. Trina talks to Ava before she gets there. And Ava says, hey, did Jordan find a piece she wanted? I don't think Jordan will be buying any pieces from us. She's like, why? After what I told her. She goes, okay, what'd you tell her? You know, I told her to stay away from my father and that I was going to do everything in my power to make sure she never has him. And Ava says, okay, and how do you think you could stop her, Trina, if she wants a relationship with your father and your parents are divorced? Because I'm going to tell my dad that I don't want him with her. So Ava sits down with her on a little bench and says, you know, Trina, honey, when you give people ultimatums, you know that doesn't guarantee they're going to do what you want, right? You know that. And when you give people ultimatums, they might start resenting you. And she just looked, Trina just looked. And I thought, fast forward, just her. And I'm saying, you're sounding like you're some child, Trina, and you're in your 20s. In your own horrible, well, not horrible, but it was a horrible relationship. And you have the nerve to talk about kind of clout you have. Okay, there we go. Trina, can't stand her. So anyway, we have, I talked about everything, I think, everybody. Trina, Jason, the teens. Oh, no, it didn't. Last but not least, we're in the house. Oh, no, two things. First, before we get to the house, we have Portia shows up at the gallery. She talked to Trina and told Trina no, she wasn't going to be able to join them for Thanksgiving dinner because she's going to be working that night. Terry needs to be with her father. Her father is ill and she wants to spend some time with him, especially during this holiday. Might be her last one. So Trina was like, oh no. But she got over it. Then Portia stayed because she had to go meet Curtis and Stella. Portia stayed and talked to Ava. And she was saying that when I walked in, Trina was saying something about not liking her or whatever the statement was, but she was talking about Jordan. She goes, was she talking about Jordan or was she talking about me? And Ava says, oh, Portia, I could just rest assure you she wasn't talking about you. But she didn't say, oh no, she's talking about Jordan. She just said she wasn't talking about you, Portia. She goes, that's a relief. But I just don't want Trina to be, too upset or whatever she said about Trina. And so Ava says, well, Portia, you know what? I just have to tell you something. And she's like, Trina's like the least of your worries right now. And she says, what are you talking about? She says, well, Nina kind of gave you up. She was talking about giving the cops another suspect to focus on instead of Willow. And Portia said, wait, what? Okay, and she's gonna say Drew was blackmailing you. And Portia's like, oh, no. And she goes, now, Portia, she doesn't know what Drew was blackmailing you regarding. She doesn't know that. But I don't know if she exactly went to the cops or who she was going to give this information to. She actually gave it to Ava. I mean, Alexis, right? So anyway, she goes, so great. Some friend Nina turned out to be, you know, first chance she gets, she throws me under the bus. She goes, I didn't tell you this to upset you. I told you this so you would not be surprised. And she goes, oh, she said, the problem is that's going to force me to tell who I was with during that time. She actually was with, even though we saw her getting in the bed, they're doing a time frame like it was after Drew, wasn't after Drew. And we both know that silhouette wasn't Portia's hair, right? She goes, "Ah," and me having to admit who I was with, that's going to get me in a whole different kind of trouble. And she just looks at Ava. Oh, but what she said is how she may lose Trina anyway, because she says, I'm waiting until my first trimester is over. Then I'm going to have a paternity test. She says, and if this baby's not Curtis's, Trina's not going to forgive me. And that's after that is when Ava says, well, let me tell you something. That's least of your worries. So anyway, because she's saying, oh my God. So now she's going to have to figure out. She goes, but Nina also did tell me that they are working on a way to uh, disprove Michael's alibi, to find out that he was not with Jacinda during that time. So I do know that that's also a possibility. And look, if Michael's alibi goes bye-bye, then he goes to the top of the list, not you. They probably won't even ever look at you. And what Portia doesn't understand is they're not looking at her. Her picture's not on that police board. Curtis's is. The only person that is looking into Portia is Alexis with her private investigator, Felicia, right? Alexis hasn't told the cops that yet. She's only told Rick. So anyway, yeah, I want Portia's feet to be to the fire. A whole lot. I do. And Aunt Stella's righteous indignation towards Curtis and Portia getting back together again, I'm through with it. Sick of it, done with it. Aunt Stella, you need to find a boyfriend. That's what needs to happen. You need to get a man. So last but not least, we have Chase decides he wants to roast a turkey for Thanksgiving. And BOQ was reminding him of it hasn't been a turkey in this house in over 30 years. It never works out. And so he goes, this time it'll be different because I want you to help. She goes, I cook a turkey. And he goes, I've been watching videos and I believe I can make a good one. So she goes, Chase, that's an undertaking. And I don't know. And so Michael walks in and he goes over to the drink, pours him a drink, and she goes, Michael, he goes, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't, realize you two were in here. And he just picks up his drink. He goes, I'll leave. She says, no, Michael, no, wait. Chase is talking about making a turkey for the family for Thanksgiving. And he goes, but we always have pizza, pizza. And so she goes, but we could change, you know what? We could change it and we could probably be successful if we work together as a family. And so Michael says, I don't think that's a good idea. Me and Chase in the kitchen, and there's knives. And Willow looks at Michael and she goes, why would you say that, Michael? Chase, you and Chase get along. He goes, no, no, we don't. And he says, Chase is busy trying to prove that I shot Drew. And he goes, I am trying to clear Willow's name. So if I have to ask the difficult questions, I will. And Michael says, Chase feels like, no, he goes, Chase feels he knows Willow better than anybody. And Chase says, that's because I do. He says, okay, so if you know Willow so well, do you know she's getting married to Drew on Thanksgiving? Chase looks, and Brooklyn says, wait, what? How could she marry this guy after what he's done? And so Chase goes, no, no. And Michael says, yeah. He says, I went to GH to get my burn treatment, or he didn't say blood work, he said burn treatment. Appointment for my burn treatment. And I heard her inviting Elizabeth over to the wedding, and she's got on Lila's ring again. And so Willow said, the same ring you gave her? She goes, no, that's disgusting, right? And Chase, as BLQ is saying, and I think I said and Willow said, but it was BLQ said that. Chase is looking at her like, hey, you're supposed to be on my side. Like, what? And he goes, then no, that was Drew's idea. Let me see, what did I say? He says, clearly that was not Willow's idea. This is Drew's idea. And so Michael said, he goes, Drew put that ring on Willow's finger. And Michael said, but it was Willow that accepted the ring and said yes to the wedding. He says, so you know what? I don't care anymore. And he just walked out, right? And Brooklyn's like, I can't believe she did that. And he says, I thought you were on my side about this, with Michael being the suspect. And she goes, yeah, I was, but I'm not anymore. He goes, why not? She goes, because Michael was at the hospital and he was talking to me about my dad. He came to visit my dad and me, and he was talking to me about Gio. And he went to get us something to drink, and he called Gio to come down to the hospital to talk to me. And Gio came, and she goes, we had the best conversation. Gio finally understood where I was coming from when I gave him up. And we got close, and he even called me Mom, Chase. I never thought, I had given up that I would ever hear that. And Chase says, wow, I have forgotten how kind Michael can be. And I'm thinking, and you still don't think he's kind. You're just in shock that the woman you're risking your badge and your career because I'ma be the one to save Willow, is what you've been saying. She's getting ready to get married to the very person you've been trying to keep her from. You're in shock. And you're standing there trying to act like you don't have a little egg on your face. Because remember, Chase, you're such a good friend to me. I couldn't get through this at all without you, Chase. Oh, Chasey Chase. She's right back with Drew. So he goes, you know, Brooklyn, Michael did what I should have done for you. I've been so focused on clearing Willow's name that have neglected to put you first. That should have been me. Oh, it sure should have been you, Chase. But you didn't care enough, right? Brooklyn's not Willow. So she goes, Chase, I didn't tell you about what Michael did to make you feel bad. He goes, no, I know. But that should have been me, Brooklyn. And I'm going to tell you right now, you are my number one priority. Is she? Or is it because your number one priority is getting ready to be very inaccessible to you? Because Drew is not going to let you turn up at his place. He's not going to let you sit and you and Willow hold hands. He ain't going to let you do none of that. And you know it, Chase. You know you've been inappropriate. And with Drew standing in the middle of it, you ain't got a chance, buddy. And good for you. So anyway, everybody, that is it. That's all that happened. All the Thanksgiving mishaps or happenings are going to happen next week because today's the last day. The General Hospital's airing this week. They're back on Monday. So we will pick up what's happening in Port Chuck then. Comic Corner's been off the chain. Keep it up. Everybody have a safe and happy Thanksgiving holiday. And I will be back on Monday with another daily recap of General Hospital.